If I look at the recent reports, there are 80 to 100 million creators right now in India.
The influencer actually depicts the product, he compares the product, he talks about the features.
One has to be careful to connect with the influencers who are little neutral, little selective about talking about the brand so that message looks authentic.
We should also give a little bit of creative freedom to the influencers.
One TV ad cannot break the clutter. Collaboration with one influencer is not sufficient.
Yeah.
The engagement actually is a testimony of the success.
I always feel that marketers should keep in mind that every marketing channel has a shelf life.
Today, 90 to 95% of YouTube consumption happens from tier 3, 4, 5.
YouTube is the world's second largest search engine, owned by the world's first largest search engine. Google owns the YouTube. So whether people are going on Google or on YouTube.
Right.
So it's a complementing each other in a way. And that's the reality.
Hello everybody. Welcome to today's discussion, which we are having in the vibrant ambience of Kunzum bookstore in Delhi. Our focus today is on an aspect of marketing that is gaining a lot of ground: influencer marketing. With a large youth population in a country and high adoption of social media, the marketing landscape has undergone a radical change. This is marked by an increase in digital content creators, better known as influencers, giving rise to what we now term as the creator economy. And these influencers, with their substantial following, have become integral to shaping consumer choices. And to their audience, they're not just content creators, they are role models whose recommendations carry significant weight. And joining me today are two guests who will share the insights on how brands can harness the potential of the creator economy. First is Harsh Pamnani, who is a passionate business storyteller and brand consultant. He is the author of Booming Brands, a best-selling book series on new age Indian brands, and co-author of Booming Digital Stars, a national bestseller on the creator economy. His portfolio includes stories of brands like Big Basket, Epigamia and Paperboat, as well as social media influencers like Bhuvan Bam, Prajakta Kohli and Ranveer Alabadia. An alumni of XLRI, Harsh has frequently contributed to publications like Forbes India. Thanks for joining today, Harsh.
Thank you, Nandini. Glad to be part of your podcast.
My second guest is Goldee Patnaik. Goldee is the VP and India Marketing and Communication Head at itel Mobile, a brand that is one of the leaders in 2G feature phone segment and premium affordable smartphones in India. In fact, as per the CMR report, itel is recognized as one of the most trusted mobile brands in the under rupees 10,000 category. His prior experience includes Telenor India, Reliance Communications, Bharti Airtel, Times of India, as well as stints in PR agencies like Perfect Relations and Clear PR. Thanks for joining the discussion, Goldee.
Thanks, Nandini. Absolutely a pleasure to speak on your platform.
If you are enjoying watching Comms and Conversations, do subscribe to my YouTube channel, the link for which is given in the description. And with that, let's start. So let's start with you, Harsh. So your book Booming Digital Stars was published in 2022?
Yeah, early 2020.
Early 22. How have you seen the creator economy evolve since then?
So Nandini, definitely it has evolved a lot, because if I look at the recent reports, there are 80 to 100 million creators right now in India.
Okay.
So definitely when I wrote this book, creator economy was competitive, but now it has become super competitive with so many creators being in the market. Then the second thing is that when I wrote this, regional influencers were not in that much limelight. But now regional influencers from small towns are becoming, getting into limelight, collaborating with big brands. So that is the change that I have seen. Also, AI was not such a big thing when I wrote this book. Now so many AI tools coming into picture. Creators are getting a lot of creativity and performance boost because of these AI tools.
Right,
so these are some of the changes that have happened. Another interesting thing that I have noticed in this last few years is that at that time, only creators were focusing on becoming influencers, talking about different brands and running podcasts and all. But now founders are also becoming kind of content creators, starting their own podcast, and many creators are now becoming founders.
Okay.
Starting their own D2C brands, media ventures.
Okay.
So yeah, a lot of changes have happened.
Okay, that is something that I think Goldee is using extensively. But coming to the basics,
Sure.
your marketing mix and influencer marketing is probably the mainstay. How come?
Yeah, I think now the world has evolved, right? So how consumers are behaving, there is a huge chunk of consumers who research online but purchase offline. And this is a traditional theory also. They want to feel, they want to touch, they want to know more about a product before making any buying decision. So through influencers, they actually feel extremely confident before making a buying decision. So they research, the influencers do reviews, they do unboxing, they instill a lot of confidence for them before they buy a product. So I think it's extremely important to be present at those right touch points where consumers are able to look at your brand, your offering, and are able to make a right decision. So I think that's how the shift, I think, is completely, I would not say completely, if not completely, at least most of the shift is moving into digital platforms. And that's what also our partners, the retailers who do the selling, they also have been saying that we must be present across all these touch points. So I think inherently this has become a very, very important aspect for brands also to showcase and be present digitally where consumers look for you, search for you before making an actual decision.
And what are the kind of collaboration models you're seeing between brands and influencers?
Yes, I think collaboration models, there is no specific rule, I would say. I would put it very simple. I mean, today, before any particular launch happens, you have a pre-launch, you have a launch, you have a post-launch or a sustenance. So I have seen Twitter, like there are these new group called tipsters who actually create intrigue about saying something is coming in. They are also a breed of influencers, right? Where they announce something interesting, something nice coming up, and their followers suddenly show interest and create engagement. So we run these intrigue through influencers. Then again, during the launch, you also decide between how do you want to collaborate with a national influencer, a tech QL, if it is a technology
like
product,
you spoke of,
right? And when you want to engage, probably you get into a regional or a content creator so that he can engage, talk about the experience of the products to the consumers. So I think that's the kind of collaboration model a brand has to go in different cycle of launch.
Right.
I would say.
What are the collaboration models you are also seeing?
So I will divide collaboration models into 3 types. One is the short form, in which creator shout outs about a brand, mentions about the brand in one of the videos or on the social media channels, like a movie has come out or a new mobile phone has come out. That is one time kind of interaction. The second one is mid-term engagement, in which a brand would collaborate with a creator for a particular kind of campaign. Like for example, Mountain Dew has collaborated with Ranveer Alabadia, who runs the Ranveer show, for 16 episodes. That is a particular form of campaign. Then another form is the long form collaboration, in which a creator can become the brand endorser also. So for example, Bhuvan Bam has become a brand ambassador of a brand, the Man Company. That's a long-term association.
Right.
So like these kind of different models are there.
Right. And what is your advice to brands when they are, collaborating with influencers to have realistic expectations from influencer marketing?
Right. So first and foremost, they should look at whether there is a overlap between the creator's audience and their audience. Like for example, if they are launching a product in Tamil Nadu, then definitely collaboration with a Tamil speaking creator will give better results as compared to an influencer who has lot many audience but mainly popular in the north side of the country. Then they also have to have their campaign objectives clearly defined, whether they are looking for boosting the brand awareness, whether they are looking for increasing the sales, or they are just looking for uplifting the perception about a brand. So that will give them understanding that what they really have to measure. And they should also look beyond the vanity metrics. Like for example, like, views, comments are kind of vanity metrics. They also have to look for what these kind of likes, views, comments did for their business.
Yeah,
Did they
yeah.
increase the website traffic? Did they contribute to the sales in some manner? Or did they increase the social media mention for that brand? What was the outcome of that from the business perspective? That should also be measured.
Which actually makes a lot of sense, that there is a clear business objective
Yeah.
that is being met. And
Yes.
in your case, I mean, you have Goldee, a brand ambassador, you have micro influencers, nano influencers, regional influencers, retail format influencers. I mean, you have a huge landscape.
Sure, yeah.
How is all this working to meet your business objectives?
Yes, this is extremely interesting, and also I think all the marketeers should also have a very clear-cut distinction. A brand ambassador is very important because he fuels aspiration to your target audience. A brand ambassador elevates the stature of the brand, right? That's what he does, which leads to longer equity and goodwill for the brand. But an influencer actually depicts the product, he compares the product, he talks about the features, right? So various kind of influencers are important in reaching the mind share of the consumer, right? And I think a very, very important, what also Harsh touched upon, that how do we actually measure the success of these influencer outreach or campaign. One is obviously we look into the assured impressions and all, which is a hygiene, but it is always nice to check how much did my search had a surge because of this, right? After the influencer, did my Google search, are more number of consumers searching me as a brand or my brand? Then also, did it help to increase my fan base, whether it's a meta platform, whether it's Insta, Facebook or a YouTube, did my fan base grow? And also it's not a bad idea to also check your tertiary sellouts also. Maybe there is a positive trend which you or a flip you see in the business. So I think if all these combines together, I think
You can measure
you
the
can definitely
efficacy
measure.
or effectiveness.
Yes, you will get a direction, a hint of how things are moving, right? So that's what I would suggest.
But tell me, for CMOs like us,
Yeah.
what would be those one or two challenges you face when working with influencers that we should be mindful of?
Yes, I think challenges are definitely there to be solved, but it is always best that our objectives should be very clearly defined in alignment with the business goals, right? We should have our key message house and the brand narratives very, very clearly outlined, articulated and agreed, or I would say aligned with the influencer. So once you have a written alignment of the narrative and the key message, so what happens then after the output, you don't have any disagreements normally, right? Probably your expectation versus reality doesn't match, right? So I think that's one thing what I would ask everybody to be very, very careful. Number two, many a times the influencer's target audience and your target audience may have a mismatch. So just by seeing the followers, you should not select. You should try and go little deep into matching the profile of your TG vis-a-vis the past ratios of engagement and the TG which the influencer commands. So I think this is the ideal scenario, but it's not that easy to match it 10 out of 10 every time. But if we are cognizant of these hygiene, I think most of the time it works well, and we should also give little bit of creative freedom to the influencers, right? If your objectives are met with his style of creative rendition, I think it becomes a mutually respectable journey, and output normally turns out nice.
Which means, if I'm hearing correctly, there is a lot of research which needs to go into the entire thing.
Absolutely.
Before you get on to the influencer marketing.
Yes. That also helps you to gauge whether you're, because with the advent of nano, micro, regional influencers, now everybody will say I'm an influencer. Right. But as brand custodians, we need to do a research driven method to gauge who are the real influencers.
Yeah. You get full bang for the buck actually.
Because there's a lot of clutter to know who are the right, who are the wrong ones. Right? So I think research always helps.
And the alignment of the brand, the positioning should not get diluted.
Yes, the narratives, the key message, I think we all should be aligned beforehand starting a campaign with the influencer. That normally becomes easier for, in driving the right outcome. Yeah.
Harsh, if you can also throw some light on measuring the impact of influencer campaigns. I mean, what kind of KPIs should we all be looking at?
So first and foremost, definitely we have to, as Goldie mentioned, have to choose the right kind of influencers, because what is happening is that these days so many influencers are available on social media platforms, because of which influencer marketing looks easy. But we have to choose the influencers carefully, because an influencer who is talking about so many brands, definitely his or her audience are realizing that he's getting paid for by so many brands, and the relatability, authenticity gets impacted. So one has to be careful to connect with the influencers who are little neutral, little selective about talking about the brand, so that message looks authentic. That is one. Another thing in terms of measuring the KPIs, many people think that if the reach is happening through an influencer, through a mega influencer, the objective is met. But only reach is not important. Frequency, the engagement, continuous engagement with audience is also important. So there has to be a right combination of mega and micro influencers. Mega influencer can give a reach, but micro influencers have that kind of relatability with their audience, and they can, and they can keep the engagement continue. They can keep on talking about different aspects. So those are the kind of things that marketers should keep in mind whenever they're thinking about engaging the influencers. And then they have to, as Goldie mentioned, that they have to work in collaboration with influencers rather than considering them as an advertising outlet.
Right.
Because influencer has built up that audience mass after a lot of hard work. Right. He understands what are the trends going on, what his audience likes, don't like. Right. So they know the pulse of the audience. Right. So once the proper concept note from the brand manager is given to influencers, which contains what are the differentiation of the brands, what is the consumer insight, what are the credentials of the brand, and then that square is defined for the creator that these are the boundaries, these are the brand values, this is the brand reputation. Apply your creativity, but don't cross the boundary. Then creator can think properly, keeping the audience and the brand goals in mind, and can give the best outcome.
Absolutely, I think very valid point. Many a times we see the reach and then suddenly select an influencer. But every marketer or a communications box should always check the engagement. How many are sharing? How many are liking? How many are commenting? Right? So impression, though it is one way, the engagement actually is a testimony of the success. Right. I would agree with Harsh on that. So I think these three parameters which we should actually scrutinize, also as a deciding factor when we are selecting the influencers. That shows the probability ratio of how frequently would consumers also engage with you when he is influencing your brand.
No, and I like another point he said that at the end of the day, give them the artistic freedom, because they know what is actually bringing the trust in what they are doing. So put down the parameters, but give them. But Harsh spoke about another interesting one, which is on collaborating with influencers. Maybe Goldie, if you can throw some light on how are you as a brand collaborating effectively with influencers?
So I think the definition, as I told you, it's changing. It may not be a bad idea to build your own set of evangelists. Okay. I would say every brand would have their own sellers, right, in mainline or in online, and every brand would have your own channel partners, own employees also who are very enthusiastic, who understand the products well. So I think one kind of interesting collaboration which brands can also think in is, why don't you build your own set of armies or own set of evangelists who know the product well, who can post in their own social platforms and drive a certain kind of mind share or a traffic. So I think that is very, very organic and leads to a very, very healthy brand perception from consumers' perspective. That's one aspect. The second aspect also is, I think, to make the transition smoother with the influencer community as such, there has to be a tripartite discussion, I would say. For example, a brand, there are influencer marketing agencies who professionally know influencers, know them personally, their working style. So brands, the agency who handles the influencer and the influencer, they all three should have a mutual meeting and discussion together, align the narratives, the business objectives, outcomes, and also the key messages overall. So what happens then, there is a marriage which happens of expectations versus reality. So I think that smoothens the overall collaboration also very well, and that's where, as Harsh was also saying, the creative expression, the freedom of expression, what they do, that also somehow gets taken care, right? So I think while you are innovating in terms of creating a new breed of influencers from your own pool, also collaborating in the right way in a systematic manner also helps for a better output.
No, makes a lot of sense, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it is more practical to have a professional agency
Yes.
who's helping you take it forward
Yes.
rather than taking on the entire
Yeah.
onus of operationalizing
Yes.
influencer marketing campaign.
Yes, because you would be having so many influencers
Yeah.
and it is difficult for a brand to have a one-to-one conversation with all of them and try to do justice.
Yeah.
So it's always better to do it more professionally
Yeah.
for a better output.
Yeah.
I would like to add one more thing around this collaboration. The thing is that influencers are mostly creative people. They need time for their experimentation
Yes.
and coming up with creative output. And at the same time, brand managers have to be careful about all the guidelines that are coming these days around influencer marketing. Like for example, it's a paid collaboration, it has to be mentioned properly.
Right.
And then there are different kinds of government guidelines have also started coming because influencers are now becoming major force.
Yes.
Right.
So everything has to be put properly in the contract so that neither the brand manager nor the influencer should get into some kind of trouble later on.
Very
And influencer marketing agencies play a beautiful role of bringing both the parties together on the same page.
Yeah.
And while telling them about the latest guidelines which are coming in the market, because they are up to date about that, so
Yes.
that both the parties
Yeah.
are aware that what is possible, what is not possible.
Very true, very
Yes,
true.
it
But
becomes very secured
Yeah.
as a collaboration.
no, makes a lot of sense. But what are the kind of trends you are seeing, or you think how the dynamics of influencer marketing is going to change?
So dynamics of influencer marketing are definitely changing a lot because a lot of things are happening, especially after the AI coming into picture. Now many brands are using the virtual influencers, which
Okay.
I mean Myntra has used, Boat has used, and these virtual influencers are basically driven by AI
Right.
technologies,
Right.
and in a way they are able to give I mean lot of opportunities, create lot of opportunities for the brands, but
Right.
they are also going to create lot of competition for the human influencers over the period of time.
But they're able to get the trust which a human influencer is able to get?
So that we have to see that how things evolve, but
Yeah.
at least they have started coming into the market.
Right.
Now how much the trust they will be able to get,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
the engagement will happen,
Yeah.
it is in the early stage, but definitely things are happening where they are going to create the competition. Maybe the parameters of that campaign
Maybe
might differ.
different, yeah.
Like if it's a trust building campaign, definitely maybe a human influencer might be required, but if it's a different kind of campaign where only the information has to be communicated, more of technical kind of thing, maybe they can be more
Possibly.
useful.
Because I would imagine an AI influencer,
Yes.
we would know that there is a person behind who's putting everything there.
Right.
It is not
Yeah.
natural.
Huh. But I still think that if it's a basic information, I have
Maybe,
to tell,
maybe,
I have to
that
just
works.
tell that okay,
Yeah.
this thing is coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe there I don't need a human influencer.
Agree.
My AI influencer
Possibly.
could do the job.
Possibly.
So those kind of things are happening.
Anything you want to add on what you're seeing tomorrow happening?
In terms of trend line, let me take a leaf from where Harsh left it. So AI, I would say definitely it's going to be forming a very important role. But I would take it little a step ahead, that how AI would actually make regionalized communication. You know, how do brands use AI to regionalize the communication? For my consumer sitting in Tamil Nadu or in Andhra, how do I use AI as a tool to convey the same message in their language they understand, right? So I think that's going to be a next step in communicating and reaching to your target audience, and I'm very excited to see that happening soon. Number two, you have a whole lot of breed of content creators that are evolving regionally. When we say content creators are a little more lifestyleish. They do a lot of nice, positive nuances with your product, projected in a way which Gen Z gets influenced. So I think that's a culture I'm seeing very, very fast booming across the region, where content becomes important to drive experience of a product for the brand. And the third aspect is every platform is developing influencers who are popular to that breed of target audience. Insta set of influencers are popular because they give those kind of lifestyle experience or advice or to the consumers. A YouTube set of influencers would be a little different. And so that's how every platform is building their own set of influencers. So I think this is a very good scenario for brands, that every platform has their own breed of influencers who are reaching to multiple target audiences, which is not very structured right now, I would say. So I think that's also something interesting we all should be waiting and watching, you know.
One thing I would like to add to what Goldee said, one another trend is coming into picture is that few years back, startups and the new age brands were focusing on influencer marketing. But now it has become so popular that even the regional brands, small scale brands, which didn't have access to the star power earlier, they wouldn't have hired, let's say, cricketers and film stars. Now they have access to some star power because of these micro influencers, regional influencers. So let's say a brand has to sell 400 rupees jeans in small villages or so. They have somebody who can communicate about that particular jeans brand to the audience in that particular regional area or so. So those kind of things are happening. But one thing that I am observing is that because influencer marketing is becoming a big buzzword, everybody is talking about that. I always feel that marketers should keep in mind that every marketing channel has a shelf life. After a point of time, the customer acquisition cost through every channel increases. That happened through the previous channels which were in limelight. Once upon a time, TV was a great channel, then telecalling was a great channel. But after some time, what happens that everybody jumps into that. And because of which the customer acquisition cost increases. When I am talking to many of the brands I know, they are telling that this is happening here also, because every other competitor can hire another influencer. And every influencer has a message to communicate about. And then it becomes difficult for them to gain the customer. That's why there is
a lot of fatigue that may get created also.
No, or jump onto the bandwagon immediately before it becomes too expensive.
yeah.